Welcome to the Holistic Matters podcast, sponsored by Standard Process. Standard Process is a trusted brand at the forefront of high-quality, whole food-based nutritional supplements. Visit holisticmatters.com for a wide range of holistic health content, including articles, videos, continuing education, and more to keep you up to date on the latest nutrition science and herbal health trends. I'm today's host, Dr. Daina Parent, naturopathic doctor and Standard Process clinical educator. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Daina Parent, and I'm your host on the Holistic Matters podcast. We have an incredibly important topic for discussion today. We are going to be talking about protein and blood sugar control. And what we're going to be doing today, it's more than just a phrase we hear all the time, which is eat your protein with all of your meals to stabilize blood glucose levels. This conversation will dive much deeper into what the science says about protein blends and blood sugar and what ingredients you may want to look for when choosing your next protein powder. So I have a very special guest today. This is Dr. James-Dulin. She's a food scientist with over 9 years of experience in the food and dietary supplements industry. She has a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Grambling State University and completed her Ph.D. in food science at Penn State University, where she investigated the effects of green tea on the liver. And Dr. James-Dulin is passionate about food, flavor, and nutrition, believing that healthy food should taste good. She enjoys cooking and dancing and spending time with her family, and she is currently product development manager at Standard Process, having joined the company to establish the food science team and lab. And in this capacity, she oversees many aspects of the development of products, from ideation, formulation, and prototype development through commercialization. So during this tenure at Standard Process, she's led the development of several key products, most notably a one-of-a-kind nutrition bar for an adventure athlete on his quest to cross Antarctica. And additionally, she's led the development of the company's first food line comprising of protein powders and whole food nutrition bars. So welcome, Dr. James-Dulin. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Daina, Dr. Parent. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's good to be on Holistic Matters, talking about something that I am very passionate about and is close to my heart.
Yes. And speaking of that, as I understand it, this topic is actually very personal for you as you started to develop some blood sugar handling difficulties during your pregnancy.
Yes, as I mentioned, this topic is really close to my heart due to my personal experiences. So diabetes runs in my family, and managing my blood sugar is something that is always on my mind. And so when I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes during my pregnancy, I was disturbed, but not completely surprised. So while I thought I had been doing a really good job of managing it, I can admit that I was not always very consistent. So this diagnosis really just forced me to pay closer attention. I had to test my blood sugar several times a day and submit a report. So along the way, I decided to get a continuous glucose monitor, which really helped. So watching the numbers in real time, that encouraged me to work really hard to keep my numbers where they should be. So I used several different strategies to help me keep my blood sugar in check. One of which was, starting my day with a high protein breakfast accompanied with healthy fats and fiber to help keep my blood sugar stabilized. And I found once I did that, I was able to get my numbers where they needed to be and keep everything in check. My go-to for that actually was a protein shake made with protein powders that had high quality proteins. I also ate a lot of fruits and vegetables, mostly vegetables throughout the day, ensuring that the vegetables were the first thing that I ate off my plate.
So thank you for sharing. That's such a powerful story. And it's certainly not something you are alone in experiencing. I think most people don't understand the physiology of pregnancy, but pregnancy is actually an insulin resistant state. I mean, essentially, in the second and third trimesters, the mother experiences a 50% reduction in insulin sensitivity, which means that the mother requires twice as much insulin to maintain normal glucose levels. And, pregnancy is such a fascinating physiological state. I really enjoy actually studying it. But yeah, back to, this general population, you mentioned that you consumed protein and you said some fats as well. And that was really important for blood sugar stabilization. Can you just tell us why is that so important?
So, keeping your blood sugar balanced or stable is important for your overall long term health. Both high and low blood sugar are associated with negative health outcomes. We tend to focus more on the high blood sugar, which is a bit more debilitating and can lead to chronic illnesses such as diabetes. It can affect your cardiovascular health, kidney health, and even your eyes with the potential development of glaucoma. Low blood sugar, on the other hand, can negatively impact your mood and your cognitive function. So, making an effort to keep your blood sugar steady is just for your overall health. And macronutrients such as proteins and fats, they play a crucial role in the diet in helping to keep those blood sugar levels steady. So, what that means by keeping it steady is not having, too much of a spike and too much of a dip, especially after a meal. Proteins, for example, they help slow the digestion of and absorption of carbohydrates when paired with carbs in the meal. And that leads to like the more gradual release of glucose into your blood sugar. As I mentioned, it helps you avoid that spike and that dip. Healthy fats do pretty much the same, as do fibers like resistant starches. They also help slow the absorption and digestion of those glucose. And when the fibers is broken down by the gut bacteria in the large intestines, that can produce short chain fatty acids, which have been shown to encourage insulin release, and that can also help lower your blood sugar. So all of your macronutrients do play a role in how you consume them, particularly, as I like to say, dressing up the carbs with these macronutrients can help with stabilizing your blood sugar.
I love that, dressing up the carbs. I actually haven't heard that before, but it makes me think of maybe like a potato, like a Mr. Potato Head or something, where we're dressing up our carbs.
Yeah, because the naked carbs, they will impact your blood sugar. You get that spike, you'll probably get that dip later on. So, dressing it up and putting makeup on it or something like that in the form of proteins and healthy fats can really have a beneficial effect.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great visual. And speaking of high quality protein, this is something that you are involved in. As part of some of your earlier work, you were responsible for putting together a really high quality protein blend. And I would love to hear the story of how this comes together. How do you go about putting together a protein blend? What ingredients are you using? All of the details.
What do people mean by, say, high quality or quality protein blend? In my opinion, a quality protein blend, or quality protein for that matter, is one that is both complete and has good digestibility. So a complete protein basically means it has all the essential amino acids, which are the ones that your body cannot produce, but you have to obtain from food. And then the digestibility of a protein speaks to the amount of protein that is available for absorption after it has been digested. So basically, your ability to break down the protein and then use it effectively. So a high quality protein needs to have both. It needs to be both complete and digestible. From a perspective of protein, the animal protein tend to be of higher quality, as plant proteins tend to have more fibers and other components that reduces the digestibility. There are, of course, complete plant proteins such as soy and pea. They have all the essential amino acids. But for the protein blend that we developed, what we were looking for is how do we take some of those proteins, including some or complete plant proteins, and optimize or boost the amino acid profile to give you an even higher quality, make all of those amino acids available, but also deliver something that it goes beyond just the protein and amino acid that's available, but something that was nutrient dense. So we focused on plant-based protein blend because studies have shown that a plant-based diet is better for your overall long-term health. And we didn't only want to provide those essential amino acids from multiple sources, which we use multiple sources of proteins there, but we also wanted to provide nutrient density in the form of healthy fats, fiber, vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. We also wanted to add ingredients to increase the levels of branched chain amino acids in this protein blend, because generally plant-based proteins tend to have lower branched chain amino acids when compared to animal protein sources. So for this particular blend, we decided that a combination of pea protein, which has all 9 essential amino acids, is pretty digestible, pumpkin seed protein, which has healthy fats, all the essential amino acids as well. It has fiber and the like. And we wanted to use an ancient oat flour as well as buckwheat flour. And we added in those branched chain amino acids and methionine. Pea protein tends to, even though it has methionine in it, tends to have a low amount. Pumpkin seed does have it as well, but we thought having more methionine in there would be beneficial. And so these whole food ingredients, all organic, we thought provided everything that we were looking for, not just all essential amino acids, a good amino acid profile, but had sources of fat, fiber, vitamins, and phytonutrients.
I think it's really important as well that you just mentioned the difference between proteins from animal sources and plant sources. And you can't just say, well, which one's better, right? Because you just mentioned that animal source protein is more bioavailable and digestible, but that doesn't necessarily confer over all outcomes. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yes, so I would say that. So from a protein perspective, yes, animal proteins are more complete, more digestible. But then you also have, in the context of the animal protein, you have more saturated fats, more unhealthy components than you would find in the plant-based proteins. If you're looking at them from the whole food perspective, when you do some of the isolated components like a whey protein, that's generally okay for everybody. It's complete. It's the gold standard of protein for just if you're looking at muscle health and all the like, which most protein powders tend to try to emulate whey protein. That's where adding the branched chain amino acids in our plant-based protein came in. We knew compared to whey, it would have a lower level of branched chain amino acids. So we wanted to add that in there to be comparable and give people something that would be similar to whey. But overall, yes, if you're going to consume animal protein, it will be more complete, more digestible, but it doesn't always mean that for your long-term health, it is the better option.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. And so the formula, the protein blend that you were talking about, will you mention those ingredients one more time?
Yes, so we had in there organic pea protein, pumpkin seed protein, organic ancient oat flour, organic buckwheat flour, and we added the branched chain amino acids, leucine, valine, isoleucine, and methionine.
Okay, I know I heard something in there. What is an ancient oat?
So an ancient oat is a variety of oat that we grow and we developed on our standard process organic farm. And it's basically an heirloom variety of oat that existed long ago, way before our current variety of oat that is the common oat that is easier to breed, more commercializable and easier to grow, and it has probably better sensory attributes. But the ancient oat is an older variety of oat that we found had a better nutrient and phytonutrient profile. We invested time in breeding it and growing it and making it available for use in our protein blend because of that better protein content. It had better quality protein, it had better digestibility, and it had overall better nutrition compared to common oat.
We'd like to take a quick moment to mention our sponsor, Standard Process. Standard Process is a family-owned and practitioner-focused company that makes high-quality, whole food-based supplements. Many of the ingredients used in the company's whole food-based supplements are grown on-site on their 850-acre certified organic farm. The research and development teams at their Nutrition Innovation Center inform the Standard Process farm team about the best crops to grow and organic farming insights that they share with colleagues and community to help advance organic agriculture as a whole. Clinical insights from their Nutrition Innovation Center have also allowed them to optimize drying times, extract types, and ingredient processing techniques that can contribute to health benefits. State-of-the-art technology also helps to better understand the levels of nutrient density in their crops and determine the ideal strains for ingredients based on their abilities to support unique health needs. To learn more about Standard Process, Visit standardprocess.com/only@SP.
Yeah, and that's a fascinating point that you're bringing up. We don't think about seeds that have been lost. Historical seeds really are food. Right. And so whatever that genetic material is in the seed, our food can only have, or oats in this instance, can only have a certain amount of protein based on kind of the breeding.
Correct. And heirloom type stuff is making a comeback. You have heirloom wheat, you have heirloom tomatoes, you have heirloom so many things. While this is not necessarily heirloom, but it is in the same context of what that ancient oat strain is. And it's unique to us. And thus it would be an ingredient that is only available in any product that we develop with the ancient oat flour.
Thanks for that information. And then tell me a little bit more. You now have this protein blend that you have conceptualized, formulated, put it together. What do you now do with this protein blend?
So we thought the best way to utilize that protein blend is by making a protein powder, a product that would be available for consumption. So we took that protein blend and incorporated it into a protein powder formula. And to that, we added some other ingredients, flavoring, of course, some sweetener, so that it would be a ready-to-mix beverage, similar to any common protein powder out there in the chocolate, vanilla variety that people consume. And that could be a healthy option for starting your day to incorporate a high-protein component in your diet.
And as part of this protein blend, what are some other ingredients that you use?
Yeah, so in addition to the protein blend, we thought it was important to have additional resistant starch. So we added that in the form of green banana flour. As I mentioned earlier, resistant starch is a type of fiber, and fiber tends to also slow down the release of glucose into the bloodstream. And then we also added a blend of amylopectin and allulose, which is a slowly digesting carb from waxy maize. Also having that slow digestion really slows down the release of glucose into the bloodstream as well. We also thought it interesting to add golden chlorella, which is a high source of folate and B12, because a lot of people on a plant-based diet don't usually consume animal proteins or animal foods, which is a source of B12. We thought having golden chlorella as a source of B12 would be beneficial to that population if they would consume such a product.
Well, that's an interesting one too. So golden chlorella, vegetarian source of vitamin B12, correct?
And also a natural source of folate.
Interesting. I wouldn't necessarily think of chlorella for those purposes, but that makes sense. So now you have this protein blend and you have essentially this protein powder. You added some of the other ingredients to help slow the glucose absorption into the bloodstream. And then there was actually a small paper written about this. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so we thought, now that we've thought of all these ingredients and combined them into this product, we wanted to really see if the product worked. And so we decided to conduct a small clinical study with non-diabetic participants and testing the consumption of this product with a reference control. And basically what we found was that our product was able to blunt or minimize the glucose spike after consumption in healthy individuals compared to our glucose control. So you had less of those peaks and valleys, and you had a more steady release of glucose throughout the bloodstream after consuming this product.
So basically what you're saying is that your product worked. Is that right?
Based on our clinical study, yes. And I do say I consume that product almost every day when I do have my own protein shake. So yes.
That's perfect. That's what we like to hear. So this was a success story, Dr. James-Dulin.
Yeah. And the other component to add, I would say, is, part of the protein and the slow release carbs, it also keeps you fuller longer with the slow release. So not only is your blood sugar more steadied, it decreases your hunger cravings and your need for wanting to snack, because every time you consume food, you're going to, have the blood sugar spike. So decreasing that need to snack afterwards is also a benefit of having high protein products in your diet, and a protein shake that has all of these other components can completely support that. So you get to stay fuller, longer, and have a more steady release of glucose and sustain energy, because when the glucose is slowly released, your energy levels you don't have the high and then you crash.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great information. And I do want to ask you about the flavor component, because that's something I've always wondered. And I mean, this is your passion. This is what you do. You know, you're in food science, nutrition. You have a PhD in food science, which is incredible. And it sounds like something I would want to be when I was a kid, and somebody would have told me, oh, there is no food scientist, because it sounds like you get to be a scientist and work with food. So tell me about, what do you come up against? I mean, are you working in a laboratory every day? I mean, are you mixing food ingredients? It sounds very fun.
Food was a very important component for me. I remember doing an internship and being asked, what are you passionate about when you go to grad school? And my first thought was food. So having a background in science and thinking I was passionate about food, pursuing food science was a no-brainer for me. It was just a happy marriage between the two. So on the day-to-day, yes, I do work in a laboratory/kitchen, because everything that we make in the kitchen or lab is consumable, and we mix together all of those ingredients. We focus heavily on the nutrition, but we also know that flavor is very important. People like to eat, or they eat the way they do, because whatever they're eating has to taste good. And so if everybody were to eat healthy and not eat some of the unhealthy food, we know that flavor has a lot to do with it. So if you want people to eat healthy, it has to taste good. So we focus a lot on that. Some of the challenges, however, that we face is a lot of the things that are healthy/good for you, they don't typically taste as good. And so finding ways to improve the flavor whilst keeping the nutritional content and the nutritional density of the product is something that we work hard and can be very challenging. So in this situation, combining all of those ingredients, we wanted to also make sure it tasted good. And some of the research has shown that a lot of people like chocolate and vanilla, common flavors that people gravitate towards. So we developed these products in a chocolate and vanilla variety, ensuring that you have that rich chocolate flavor, and you're also getting something nutritional as you could use for your shake in the mornings. So yes, flavor is a really big part of our work, but as we continue to work in the space of healthy, whole food ingredients, we do come across challenges of how do you make those ingredients taste good. And it's something that we work through every day. We have a lot of challenges with, but every time we're able to have success, it feels like such a really big win.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. What advice would you give to practitioners if they're looking to help balance their patients' blood sugar levels?
Yeah, so if somebody's looking for a protein powder, I would say you want something that obviously has high quality proteins, as we mentioned, that has sources of complete proteins and has good digestibility, and that would provide all the essential amino acids. You want something that has overall high nutrition density, so a combination of different ingredients. You want to have those vitamins, those minerals, healthy fats and fiber. So a good protein powder to me should in some we have all of those different components, so that if you take it as a standalone shake alone, you're getting everything that you need. That doesn't mean that you cannot add other ingredients to it, but you should be able to get enough nutrition from the shake on its own. As I mentioned, I consume protein shakes very often, almost every day for breakfast, and I do like to add other components to it. Peanut butter is one of my favorites, and bananas, but the protein powder alone should be able to provide a lot of those different components and be nutrient dense, in addition to providing high quality protein with all the essential amino acids.
So, Dr. James-Dulin, before you go, I actually have a quick question, and it's something I get really confused about. Fiber to me can be confusing because there's soluble fiber, there's insoluble fiber, there's resistant starches. Can you tell me the difference between these different fiber types?
In general, yes, fiber can be very confusing, and even the bodies that regulate what fiber is and what isn't. Up to recently, they were still classifying certain things that had been considered fibers as not fibers and the like. So it is confusing for just about everybody. But basically, there are just two main categories of fiber, and within that you have so many different types that can fit in there. But you have soluble fibers and you have insoluble fibers, and basically the soluble fibers are the ones that go through the small intestine. Your body could work with those, and they work on the gut, help in a variety of ways. So you have, for example, from oats, you have different like beta glucans, and all these different things would be classified as, soluble fibers. And then you have the insoluble fibers, are the ones that your body cannot do anything on it in your small intestine. So it goes off to your large intestine, where your gut microflora would work on it and ferment those. And a lot of the times they produce short chain fatty acids, which have been shown to confer a number of health benefits. And in the case of blood glucose, one of those benefits is that short chain fatty acids can stimulate the release of insulin, which can then help lower the glucose that is in the bloodstream. But in general, fiber, when it comes to blood sugar, the way it works is really by slowing down the digestion and absorption of glucose, and thus helping to keep your blood sugar steady, which is why in addition to a number of other benefits, it's important to include fiber when you're looking to manage and balance your blood sugar.
So basically what you're saying is a complete protein blend and fiber really helps to give you optimal blood sugar regulation.
Yes.
That's perfect. Dr. James-Dulin, thank you so much for joining us on the Holistic Matters podcast.
Thank you for having me. Have a lovely day.
You too. Tune in every first and third Thursday for new Holistic Matters episodes, and be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Remember to visit holisticmatters.com for a wide range of holistic health content to keep you up to date on the latest nutrition science and herbal health trends. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and a special thank you to our sponsor, Standard Process. Thank you for listening. Visit holisticmatters.com for more content, and remember, that's holistic with a W.